1. Triple H and Ref beat up a fan. Stone Cold Steve Austin had faced off against many talented wrestlers throughout his decorated pro wrestling career and triumphed over most of them, but a very stupid guy from the crowd almost caught him off guard at a live event. After a match between Austin and Triple H at a WWE house show, a fan entered the ring and attempted to attack the Texas Rattlesnake, but Triple H caught him at the last second, slammed him to the mat, and punched him repeatedly. Even the referee, Mike Chioda, joined in on the action and landed several kicks and punches on the foolish fan. Austin, who was a face at the time, couldn't react, so he let the heel Triple H take care of the fan. Security then rushed in to escort the foolish intruder out, but the whole incident was a stark reminder of how unpredictable live shows can get when fans cross the line. 2. Hall of Fame incident. The 2019 Hall of Fame was supposed to be an emotional ceremony with the likes of DX and the Hart Foundation being inducted into the prestigious list. But while Bret Hart was giving a heartfelt speech about his late partner Jim Neidhart, a fan suddenly jumped the security railing, charged towards the ring, and tackled him to the ground. What made this especially disturbing is that Bret is a stroke survivor, so any physical confrontation poses a serious health risk to him. The guy clearly had no regard for safety or respect for the moment. Wrestlers and staff immediately jumped in to protect Bret, and the fan got absolutely mauled by the likes of Travis Brown, Dash Wilder, and others before being hauled out by security. WWE pressed charges, and the man was arrested, but the damage to the tone of the evening had already been done. 3. Fan grabs Sasha Banks. At the 2019 WWE Clash of Champions, Sasha Banks had a pretty awful experience that no woman should ever have to go through. She was engaged in a pretty intense match with Becky Lynch that soon spilled out into the crowd. But while the two were on their way back to the ring, a stupid fan decided that it was okay to grab her inappropriately. He reached out for her, but thankfully couldn't manage to connect. The fan instead held one of her arms for a brief second before eventually pulling away. The video immediately went viral on social media, where the fans demanded that the fan be banned from WWE events for lifetime. It was a harsh reminder that no matter how close fans feel to wrestlers, personal space and respect are non-negotiable, and Sasha made sure everyone knew that loud and clear. 4. Fan low blows Orton. Even the toughest, most ruthless wrestlers usually think twice when they come face to face with Randy Orton, aka the Viper. As a 14-time world champion, he's known for mentally and physically breaking down his opponents in the ring. But even Randy wasn't prepared for what happened during WWE's 2013 tour in South Africa. While doing his signature pose up on the turnbuckle, soaking in the crowd's energy, a fan somehow managed to sneak up behind him and landed a low blow, completely unprovoked and totally out of line. The entire arena was stunned as Orton fell to the mat in pain. He quickly got back to his feet and marched to beat the hell out of the attacker, but security intervened and took him away. It would have been crazily satisfying to see Orton punt the guy for real. 5. Fan attacks Stephanie McMahon. Stephanie McMahon has spent years playing one of the most hated villains in WWE history. Her on-screen persona is ruthless, smug, and easy to boo, which is exactly the point. Many fans know it's just a part of the act, but there are some troublemakers who take things too far. According to Kurt Angle during one of his podcasts, a fan crossed the line during a live broadcast when he tried to hit Stephanie McMahon with a real baseball. He missed by inches, but had it struck her face, she would have been instantly knocked out. Angle said that he first wanted to call the police, but ultimately informed Vince McMahon about it, who went absolutely crazy. The billionaire CEO went as far as offering thousands of dollars to the fans to point out who was responsible behind the attack. Although the person was never caught, it's a wild example of how some people lose sight of reality and how seriously WWE takes the safety of their performers, even outside the ring. 6. Roman Reigns attacked with a suitcase. Roman Reigns has shared the ring with some of the biggest names in wrestling over his 13-year career, but he wasn't prepared for what happened during a 2015 house show in British Columbia, Canada. While facing off against Bray Wyatt, things were going smoothly until one fan decided to take their obsession way too far. Out of nowhere, the fan launched a replica Money in the Bank briefcase straight at Roman's head. It wasn't just some foam toy, this thing had weight, and it hit him hard. Reigns immediately dropped to the ground and sat there dazed as he was clearly hurt by the impact. The match was stopped for a few minutes, and during this time, security identified the pathetic fan and removed him from the arena. Thankfully, Roman was able to recover from the attack, and he continued his match with Wyatt as if nothing happened, showcasing just how professional WWE wrestlers are. Although no permanent damage was done, it was a stark reminder of how dangerous some fans can become. 7. Scarlet is drenched. Most WWE fans are quite aware that Scarlet is not only the manager of Karrion Kross, she's also his wife in real life. At a live event in 2022, Scarlet tried to wind up the crowd by slapping Kross's opponent at the time, Drew McIntyre. But instead of just booing, a rowdy fan threw a full plastic cup of alcohol right at Scarlet. It hit her, and for a second, things got tense. Luckily, Scarlet wasn't hurt, but security had to step in fast and remove the fan and her whole group from the building. Scarlet still kept her cool and stayed in character while the match went on as usual, but it was a clear example of how some fans don't deserve entry inside the stadium. No one should ever take it that far. 8. YouTuber crashes the show. WWE hosted a house show in Mexico City in late October, and for the first few matches, it was going as planned. But things unexpectedly took a shocking turn when the show host at the time, Quetzali Bulnes, decided to call her friend without permission. The careless woman wanted to do something fun for her friend Fallback, a wrestling YouTuber from Spain, and thought it would be cool to give him a surprise moment during the show. But nobody really told Byron Saxton, who was also in the ring, or the security team, what was going on. So when Fallback suddenly jumped over the barricade and tried to get into the ring, Byron freaked out and called security right away. At first, Quetzali told him to let him be, but then things quickly went off the rails. Fallback tried to shout out his love for Quetzali and even went for a kiss, totally out of line. Quetzali yelled at him to stop and get back. It all turned into a chaotic mess, and in the end, Quetzali lost her hosting job over the whole thing. Sometimes, trying to be spontaneous just backfires hard. 9. Jericho punches a female fan. This wild incident didn't even happen inside the arena. It went down after Chris Jericho had just finished performing at a WWE house party in Victoria, British Columbia. As Jericho was leaving the venue and stopped at a traffic light, a fan and his girlfriend started heckling him from nearby. Jericho, who's known to be a no-nonsense man, immediately retaliated, and the situation escalated so much that more than 50 people gathered around. Then things crossed a serious line. The female fan actually slapped Jericho and spat on him. That's when Jericho's patience ran out. He punched her back without hesitation, knocking her to the ground. Jericho showed that he believes in equality, and that if someone is going to attack him first, he's not going to be the good guy and hold back. In a later interview, Jericho reminded everyone that even wrestlers have limits when it comes to being disrespected. 10. Shawn Michaels hit by a battery. Vince McMahon's famous motto is that the show must go on, no matter what crazy things happen. But Shawn Michaels wasn't having it at a live event during the build-up to his huge WrestleMania 14 match against Stone Cold Steve Austin, with Mike Tyson as the special referee. HBK was already dealing with serious back pain from an injury he'd suffered at the 1998 Royal Rumble. So when a fan threw a battery at him while he was cutting a promo, Michaels lost his cool. Instead of pushing through like Vince expected, he just walked right out of the building. That didn't sit well with McMahon or anyone backstage, who saw it as unprofessional. But honestly, given how much pain Shawn was in and how disrespectful that fan's behavior was, it's easy to understand why he snapped. 11. An actual riot. We've seen fans hold signs saying, "If Cena wins, we riot," during WWE shows in the past, but there was an incident where the crowd actually caused a huge commotion at a WWE live event. The show took place on December 15th, 1997 in Little Rock, Arkansas, featuring all of the major wrestlers at the time. The only problem was that instead of being a live show, it was a regular house show. When fans learned about it, they felt betrayed and started a huge uproar inside the venue, breaking chairs, throwing objects down, and literally tearing apart everything that came in their way. Many drunk fans even started fighting each other, which added to the already escalating tension. This forced the security to quickly eject everyone from the arena, meaning WWE could not go ahead with the show as planned. 12. CM Punk's rant. It is quite a known fact that CM Punk is one of the most controversial stars in pro wrestling history. He never backs down from speaking his mind in the ring, in press conferences, and to some provocative fans at ringside. Punk got into a verbal scuffle with some fans during a WWE live event in Australia back in 2011, when he was the leader of the New Nexus. The former WWE champion reportedly yelled some homophobic slurs at the fan, who wasn't also on his best behavior. Punk had to apologize on social media following the incident, and WWE also let out a statement that they do not condone this type of language or bias. If the same incident happened in 2025, which is arguably the age of TikTok, Punk could have landed himself in bigger trouble. 13. Fan tackles Seth Rollins. This one is probably the craziest so far. In 2021, Seth Rollins was walking up the ramp after his match had ended when a crazy fan came running at full speed and tackled him to the ground. This wasn't a slow climb over the barricade kind of thing. The man, later identified as 24-year-old Elisa Spencer, ran in like it was a football game and took Rollins straight to the ground. Cameras quickly cut away, but the fans who were there in person said Rollins looked stunned and was clearly trying to break free as security pulled the guy off. WWE and Seth handled the situation professionally, but it was jarring because it showed how easily someone could break through. The attacker later told police he had been scammed by someone pretending to be Seth Rollins online and believed he was getting revenge. Seriously? That was the excuse he could come up with? 14. Eddie Guerrero thrown off a ladder. 2002 was that version of Eddie Guerrero who used to lie, cheat, and steal his way into winning matches. But during a ladder match for the International Championship against Ron Van Dam in Montreal, he wasn't expecting what happened next. Eddie Guerrero was at the top of the ladder, about to reach for the belt, when a fan suddenly entered the ring and shoved the ladder. Eddie was caught off guard, but he still managed to land on his feet like a cat. For a brief moment, the crowd just froze in shock, not sure what had just happened. But a furious Eddie punished the fan by punching him straight in the face before security rushed in to pull the guy away. After that, the match went on as if nothing happened, and all the people involved showed great professionalism. Eddie and Rob Van Dam continued the match, while even the commentators shrugged off the incident like it was part of the storyline. Eddie later said that in that split second, he thought it might be part of the show until he realized it wasn't, and he felt he had no choice but to defend himself. 15. CM Punk hits wrong fan. During a 2012 episode of Monday Night Raw in Sacramento, CM Punk was moving through the crowd after a tense confrontation with Ryback, John Cena, and Vince McMahon. Some fans suddenly began shouting and pushing, and at one point, Punk felt someone smack him from behind. Reacting quickly, he turned and punched a fan nearby, but he ended up getting the wrong person. The actual fan who shoved him was standing a little further away. The whole thing was being televised on Raw, and it generated more buzz than the actual storyline feud with Vince McMahon. The innocent fan that was punched wasn't seriously hurt, but later admitted that Punk broke his glasses. Punk himself apologized for his actions, revealing that he was shoved and punched far too many times, and he acted in the heat of the moment. 16. Kalisto hit by a bottle. Back in 2017, during a 205 live taping, Kalisto was standing just outside the ring when a bottle suddenly came flying through the crowd and struck him in the face. The impact was so forceful that Kalisto suffered a facial laceration and needed stitches, and even went in for an MRI to check for deeper injury. Because the match had already ended, the show went to a commercial during which the fan was quickly identified and removed from the arena. He was later handed over to the authorities and arrested for attempted assault. In the aftermath of the incident, wrestlers and fans expressed shock and concern, reminding everyone that for performers, the barricade isn't just a prop. It's the only thing standing between them and real-world danger. 17. Raven mauled by a fan. This one is an exception, and it's from WCW, but due to the shocking nature of the incident, we simply had to mention it. So in 1998, during a live broadcast of WCW Thunder, Raven was simply sitting in the corner of the ring, cutting a promo when he was attacked from behind by a crazed fan. The offender grabbed onto Raven's hair, pulled him out of the ring backward by it, and dropped him onto the concrete floor. The crowd gasped in shock, and the security personnel quickly apprehended the man and dragged him away. As for Raven, he certainly looked pissed, but returned to the ring like he wasn't even attacked and simply continued with his promo. 18. Jey Uso rejects a selfie. Jey Uso was making his way out of the ring area and toward the backs of the arena when a fan stepped into his path, attempting to take a selfie. Without missing a beat, Uso turned and firmly pushed the fan aside, then walked off unfazed. Clips of the moment went viral, with many fans praising the wrestler for handling the interruption with poise and projecting a clear message: boundaries matter. WWE also showed support for Uso's reaction by broadcasting his discomfort subtly, reminding the fans that they should always stay in line and that wrestlers are humans too. So while this incident wasn't as threatening as the other ones on the list, it was satisfying to watch an entitled fan being put into place. 19. Fan pushes Jericho. Of all the reckless things a wrestling fan could attempt, trying to shove Chris Jericho ranks pretty high on the list. On a 2002 episode of Monday Night Raw, a random guy managed to push Jericho before he was quickly taken down by the security personnel. Jericho wanted to punish the guy himself, and even swung a right hand, but the fan avoided it in the nick of time. The crazy part is that the match, which was taking place in Las Vegas, featured megastars like Stone Cold Steve Austin, The Rock, and The Undertaker. The fan should probably consider himself extremely lucky that Jericho was the closest one to him when he made that foolish move, because if any of the others had been nearby, things could have ended much worse. 20. Triple H tackles another fan. Of all the wrestling personalities you'd expect a fan to rush the barricade for, Linda McMahon is probably the last person anyone would think of. Yet during a surprise appearance she made on Raw is War around the year 2000, a young fan suddenly jumped into the aisle and started making his way up the ramp toward her. Forgetting all about the ongoing storylines and scripted drama, Triple H didn't hesitate for a second. He immediately sprang into action, tackling the kid down before security could even react. What's impressive is how quickly, once the situation was under control, Triple H slipped right back into his wrestling persona as if nothing had happened. Love him or hate him, you can't deny the guy's professionalism. Even when the unexpected happens, he handles it like a seasoned pro, without missing a beat. 21. Fans throw beer at Paul Heymon. In a 2006 episode of WWE ECW, Paul Heymon became the most hated man in the arena. It was a high-stakes match between The Big Show and Rob Van Dam for the ECW Championship, and with Paul Heyman's help, the Giant managed to unfairly win the title. This was the turning point. The fans absolutely hated the fact that their hero Van Dam was robbed of the title. To express their frustration, they started throwing water, beer, and whatever they could find at Paul Heymon. But despite the deafening boos and flying beverages, Heymon didn't even flinch. He simply stayed in character and even raised the Big Show's arm to rile them up even more. The moment perfectly showed how passionate wrestling fans can get when their favorite storylines don't go as expected. And for Heymon, it was just another night proving he's one of the best at playing the villain. 22. Fans rain glow sticks on Jericho. In late 2009, during a house show in London, Chris Jericho decided to be Chris Jericho Ultra Pro Max. He cut a classic heel promo, mocking the British people's accents and teeth. The fans were so offended that one of them threw a DX glow stick right at Jericho's face. And instead of backing down, Jericho dared the crowd to keep it coming. What followed was an absolute storm of glow sticks raining down on the ring and Jericho himself. Over 100 glow sticks were thrown, and Jericho got so mad that he threw away his belts and dared them to come fight him one-on-one. During the chaos, even a child was hit by one of the glow sticks, causing WWE executives like Triple H and Shawn Michaels to immediately intervene. They took photos of the injured kid and handed out merchandise to calm things down. Later on, Stephanie McMahon was so incensed that she wanted to fine Jericho, but he talked directly to the boss, Vince, who let him off the hook without any punishments. 23. Trish loses it against a fan. Payback 2023 saw an iconic steel cage match between Trish Stratus and Becky Lynch. No titles were on the line, but it was the face of the women's division of the past versus the face of the women's division of the present. As Trish prepared to enter the ring, a rowdy adult kept insulting and shouting at her. This enraged her so much that she went over to the fan and told him to shut the F up, right in his face before storming off. The match then went on as usual when she ended up losing to Becky Lynch. Trish later revealed that she didn't remember the interaction as she was suffering from a concussion at the time. However, she joked that she channeled her inner Lita to stand up for herself and put the bully in his place. 24. Woman touches CM Punk and Cody Rhodes. The British fans seem to have a knack for causing trouble. Early this year, WWE was on a European tour, and they had a live event at Glasgow to promote the upcoming WrestleMania 41. CM Punk had just finished a tag team match with Cody Rhodes, and they were chilling by the barricade, clicking pictures with fans. But one entitled lady had to ruin the moment when she kept touching him. First, she tried to hug CM Punk, and although he warned her several times, she kept touching his shoulder and lower back. Cody arrived there a few seconds later, and the same woman asked him for a selfie. Being the gentleman that he is, Cody agreed without hesitation, but when she tried to hug him, he immediately backed off without taking the picture. The situation got so uncomfortable that security had to arrive and escort the woman out of the arena. It was later revealed that the woman was an OnlyFans model named Morgan Moore. No wonder she was used to touching men. 25. Scarlet grabbed by a fan. We end the list with another exception, as this incident took place in Mexico at the AAA Conquista Total Guerrero event. Scarlet Bordeaux was the one on the receiving end yet again. During a tag team match, when she went too close to the safety railings, an overexcited fan not only grabbed her, but put his hands all over the place. Scarlet, who was in the heat of the moment, didn't realize what happened, but her tag team partner quickly pulled her away and sent her back to the ring. It is unknown what happened to that fan, but one thing's for clear, he should never be allowed in a wrestling event again. Scarlet later took to social media to release an official statement. She admitted that had she known what exactly happened, she would have reacted differently. Scarlet also reminded the fans that it's never okay to touch a performer without their consent.